Yeah, you want to support your family, Ryan Fitzpatrick? Well, I haven't won a fantasy league in 4 years, all right? And I want to draft Eric Decker in the 5th, goddammit.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of, actually, let me say the first edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football for the 2016 season. I am your host, Nick Schreck, and I'll tell you what, guys, coming out of their winter slumber tonight is Vinny, the Jesus Christ himself. His hair has continued to grow long, and you look like you had quite a winter there, Vincent.
Yeah, man, it was a long one. I just shaved the beard and stuff, so I don't look too Jesus-like, but I'll get it back sooner or later.
Yeah, you look good, but not quite as good as our other co-host here, Matt Rogers. And I'll tell you what, the winter looked like it was kind to you, my friend.
Yes, it was, Shrek. It was a long offseason, but it's a happy new year. I look beautiful as always, and I'm ready to get this podcast season started. Let's go.
All right, boys, let's rock and roll. But before we jump into it, guys, I want to give a shout-out here to our number one listener, arguably a number one commenter during last season, Mr. Tim Walsh. He was always giving us feedback. We know he was always out there listening, and reports are indicating to us that he is listening live tonight. So we can guarantee he'll probably hear some Raider bashing, maybe some Raider love. But I know as a Chiefs fan, Mr. Walsh, I can't show you the love you're looking for. So I do apologize in advance. But guys, I do want to let you know tonight's podcast here comes sponsored by No Halftime, nohalftime.com, guys. The No Halftime app isn't your typical fantasy sports service. You get to create one-on-one fantasy matchups. If you guys use the code LTFF, you get a free sign-up bonus. And if you throw in a couple bucks, they'll even give you a free t-shirt. So promise it'll look good on you. At the very least, it may be comfortable. All right, guys, so when we jump into our first podcast of the season here, guys, we're going to talk about an NFL draft recap. That's right. We waited 3 or 4 weeks until the NFL draft was over so we could look at everybody else's analysis, pull all the good stuff together so we could regurgitate it right back out to you. We're going to talk about the offseason moves. And, again, we're a couple of months behind there, but that's not what's important here. It's our honest opinions and our thoughts on the upcoming season, guys. So let's kick it off here. Let's start on our thoughts for the upcoming season. Vinny, let's start with you. Well, who's one guy you're falling in love with for 2016 right off the bat, whether he's a high pick, a late-round pick, a guy that you think could bloom into a star?
I'll go with 2 guys. I love picking the guys that had a problem last year or missed due to injury, and 2 guys that come to mind immediately are Des Bryant and Jordy Nelson. I love those 2 dudes that are probably going to be going late in the first round, early second, possibly sliding a little further, depending on how their off seasons go. But I am ready for those dudes to return to form and probably be, top 10 wide receivers once again. I'm just ready for pouncing on those guys that people are sleeping on or forgot about from last year. So I'm ready for specifically those 2 because I love both those guys.
All right. Rogers,
I like your take on that, Vinny. I like Vinny's take, though. I think they got drafted to the NFL a while back. Right? We're doing the rookies?
No, they're just 2 guys you're in love with here for the upcoming season.
Ezekiel Elliott? Oh, 2 guys in general. I'm sorry, I misheard. I was like, Vinny, what are you talking about?
No, just guys you're falling
already off to a bad start. Oh man, guys I'm falling in love with. I truly think I do like you said, Des Bryant coming back off injury. That was one of mine. I was thinking a little more small term guys like Ladarius Green. I'm really excited that Martavis Bryant out of there. That he found a new home and is not living in Antonio Gates' shadow any longer, though that shadow is a little smaller as of late. We'll get into that later, I'm sure. But, I just, I really expect him to have a big year. I got a lot of good tight end signings this year. Kobe Fleener to the Saints, Jared Cook to the Packers. There's a lot of exciting tight end roulette names on the board.
Tight end roulette. It is good to hear it back on the air. It's been a while, so those that are looking, they've been getting their gambling itch over the winter. You can thank Mr. Rogers here for bringing the addiction back to you.
Oh, yeah. What about you, Shrek? Who you got?
Yeah, it's all I think about day and night.
You have an addiction to tight end roulette, and so it's okay. We encourage those addictions here at Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I'll tell you what, guys, one of these names is going to sound super familiar to you guys. Matt Jones, obviously a big fan. I loved him last year. I think he's the guy there in Washington. Alfred Morris leaves. I know he had some trouble last year, but I think he's the guy. I think it's just based on volume. I'm honestly not sure where he's being drafted right now, but I liked him last year. I think there's more to like about him this year. So I do like Matt Jones in Washington. Not necessarily a surprise name here, but I guess it could be. I like Latavius Murray. I think he was very kind of mediocre last year. He ranked 29th out of 68 qualifiers, according to Pro Football Focus, as his rushing grade. He really wasn't that great. And the problem was he didn't get the ball a lot in the fourth quarter on the ground. So I guess I am giving you some love here, Mr. Walsh. I do like Latavius Murray quite a bit. I think DeAndre Washington, who they took in the 5th round, is interesting, and it'll be cheap enough if you want to insure Latavius Murray. But for now, I think Latavius can give you some nice production in what can once again be considered a very shitty running back fantasy class. So that's what I got for you guys on who I like. Again, I'll fall in love with somebody else. I do it every year, and I'll tell you what, guys, when I fall in love with somebody and I write an article about them, don't buy it, all right? Don't draft those guys, because I did it with Zach Stacy and I was wrong. Last year I loved Teddy Bridgewater, and I was wrong. You know what they say, third time is a charm, and I can promise you it's not. So the bust of the season will come from my article. That should hit you guys soon enough. So keep your eye out for that article. Rogers, let's start with you here, though. Let's switch gears slightly. Who's the number one guy on your board right now? Assuming you're in a half-point PPR or a full-point PPR league, who are you taking if you're in the number one slot today?
Well, I'm thinking PPR definitely, and it may – yeah, today. It may be a bit of a cop-out. I was talking about that Steelers offense, but how can you go wrong with Antonio Brown? He's a PPR machine. And I think even in standard leagues right now, with the way the running back core, especially the top of it is now, looking at NFL drafts coming around, or fantasy drafts coming around in August, there's no guy that you will be as comfortable with as Antonio Brown, I think, at that number one. He's got the highest floor, I think, of any fantasy.
Vinny, what do you think?
What about you, Vinny?
Oh, Antonio Brown all the way. It's so easy this year. He's so consistent. He had that streak of 7 catches a game that got broken, but that was just because Roethlisberger was hurt. He's clearly the number one guy. I could see – actually, did you guys see everyone getting a little cute with taking Todd Gurley at number one? I saw a lot of guys are putting him up at the top just because – I actually don't even know why. I guess they're just pumped on like his potential, but I'm not sure – that he should be considered number one on anyone's board, especially at this point, at least.
I agree. I didn't see it, but I definitely agree. Todd Gurley will make your dad cry, as Dom told us so eloquently last year. But at number one overall, I'm going to go with the consensus here. Antonio Brown's your guy, particularly in any PPR format. It's just volume. The guy's the machine, and you can't go wrong there. And like you said, running back is always a roll of the dice.
I agree.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
right. And I could totally see Todd Gurley becoming a number one overall trend. Like that'll probably carry through the summer, I would think. But what's the real drop off with him and Devontae Freeman? They could have a coin flip as far as their years go this year, and that could be a difference of 10 picks. So I kind of agree with you, Vinny, on that. That's a little crazy.
Very.
All right, guys. What are you guys seeing? Anything else kind of any other analysts out there you think are getting a little too hyped up on people? I mean, we're in the preseason. I mean, we've gotten it now, guys. And if you have fantasy questions, we want you to throw them at us all the time. Twitter, Facebook, however you want to reach out to us on the site. But just keep in mind, we may come back to you guys and tell you that it's too early. Some keeper questions, if you don't have it due, we're going to kind of push back on you because there's a lot that can still happen. So we have gotten some crazy ones. And, we're not going to give you an answer for the sake of giving you guys an answer. If we think it's a bullshit question right now, we're going to tell you it's a bullshit question. But are you guys seeing any trends that are concerning you early, or is everything kind of still in place and still a little early to see people get carried away?
It's definitely still early. 2 guys I've noticed that people are hyped on that come to mind. David Johnson is going in a wide variety of places. Right now on Fantasy Football Calculator, his ADP is 8th overall, and I wanted to know what you guys thought about that. Is that too early? Is that just about right where he's going? What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm looking at
go for this one.
I'm looking at Fantasy Football Calculator right now. I mean, and those results put him at the 4th running back off the board. And then he's followed by Jamal Charles as the next running back off the board, who's obviously coming off the ACL. My boy in KC, but, that does worry me. I don't know. I mean, it may be a little rich for my blood, and, I've kind of transitioned, I think, a bit away from going running back heavy, which has always kind of been my strategy because I think the position is just so fucked, quite frankly. You look at you got Thomas Rawls who's going on Seattle. There's a lot of places where like the backfield really is like it's a shit show. So I guess if you want the guy, David Johnson's the guy. I just don't think I'd spend the 8th pick in the draft on him personally. It's rich for my blood, at least right now. I may be changing my tune come August.
I could see it, I guess, but again, like you guys said, top 5 running back. That's just to automatically hand him that after that second half last year, he's going to be hyped. But I kind of agree with your guys' stance on this. I don't think I'd be biting on him in the first round. One thing I wanted to ask you guys about, and I know we're going to get into it later, but I'm kind of skeptical that, and I feel like no one's really talking about it yet, that people just expect Matt Forte to be like the exact same Matt Forte on the wrong side of 30, like going to a new team in a backfield where, Bilal Powell's been there for a while and they don't really have a quarterback on that team. And I'm not sure what his ADP is, but what do you guys think about him this year?
That was one of the things I really hated for the offseason moves, like not just for the Jets, but for Forte as well. I thought he could have had a much better year just like hanging around with the Bears, but obviously they didn't want him there. I don't know. It's kind of like a crowded backfield when you look at it. It's Forte, who's like you said, wrong side of 30. You got Powell, Kerry Robinson. Remember, he got traded till at the end of the year. And then Shrek's boy Zach Stacy is also there.
My boy still on the roster.
So it's just like crowded in all the wrong ways. Forte's getting older, and Forte really excels with catching passes, and Geno Smith is more than likely going to be their starter, and that shit just sucks. So I'm way off Forte, and I think a lot of people should be too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Forte worries me, but I feel like I'm going to be singing this tune a lot, as I think a lot of us are, about the running backs. Forte right now, according to the Pro Football Calculator, in 12-team leagues, he's the 31st player off the board. So 6th pick in the 3rd round, and he is the 12th running back off the board.
Wow.
So
I don't like that at all.
No, that's awful.
Super, super scary. And, he's been hovering around that. I mean, you see as low as, the 11th pick in the 4th round, something like that. So it's still, you could still argue he's a top 15 running back based on the way these drafts have gone. And it's early. People get in there and they bow out after the first few rounds. So they start auto-picking based on the way things are in there. So our data may be a little skewed, but yeah, again, way too rich for my blood. And not that this is a fair comparison, but I'd rather spend that pick on David Johnson in the 1st round than I would on Forte in the 3rd round.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good one.
So, but yeah, I think those are 2 good call-outs of kind of trends we've seen. I mean, we have a couple questions coming up on some other guys that I'd like to talk about, but I think we'll hit them kind of as we go through the offseason changes and some of the other things later on in the podcast. So do you guys have anything else you want to talk about the upcoming season? We're obviously going to hit it on future shows, but anything else you've seen as a trend?
No, I think we're good for now. Let's get into it.
All right, so guys, let's jump into the NFL draft then. Like I said, we had some time to digest all the stuff that came out of the draft. I'll be the first to admit, none of us here are scouts. We're not NFL guys that are following these guys through college and know a lot about them prior to the draft. That's why we don't do podcasts pre-draft, because it's just not us. We're not experts on it. We'd rather get on and talk the fantasy impact after. So there are a couple things, guys, we liked coming out, some moves we didn't like. We'll start with Ezekiel Elliott. You obviously loved him in Dallas. The Cowboys, according to Pro Football Focus, they've rated out as the #1 run blocking offense in each of the last 2 years. So he gets to play behind that line. I think he's got the chops to stand on the field for all 3 downs. That's a great, great, great fantasy ceiling, and he was a stud. So I think Jerry Jones got his way there. He wanted Elliott, and he got him in the 1st round. So I think it's fantasy success for this guy. It is a crowded backfield, but I mean, you saw what Darren McFadden did there. We're the Darren McFadden fan club. So we love seeing Darren McFadden do well, but unfortunately, I think it's time to deboard that train.
Maybe. We don't know yet. Still gotta get that starting job, Shrek. McFadden still has a shot.
The denial, the blind belief in Darren McFadden is staggering.
But so Ezekiel Elliott, I've seen him. People are saying that he's going to go in the 1st round already. Like a lot of
Yeah.
experts on NFL.com specifically are saying that Ezekiel Elliott is going to go in the first round. I think that's a little crazy, especially for now, but I think it's just a little nuts that everyone's handing him the starting job. I mean, we can assume all we want, but we still have to see how this plays out in the preseason and whatnot. It's just the hype is justified, I think, but we really just got to be patient on this. I think a first round pick on him is absolutely insane.
Yeah, that backfield's just so crowded. Like on paper, if they didn't sign Alfred Morris too, like that, it would be a great situation for him. But you know that they could just be straight committee. He may not necessarily start the game, and also in that NFC East, the way those games go, how many times are the Cowboys going to be up and maybe running the ball 40 times in a game? And like all those guys are going to get fed. So it's just uncharted territory and completely unknown, and I'm not buying into that. Even in August, if more things come to light.
Yeah, well, he's going to continue to rise, but you're right about the crowded backfield. I mean, we could look at a situation where they each get 5 carries a game, and it's fucking a wasteland for everybody. But you know, for those that took Ezekiel Elliott prior to the NFL draft, he was going approximately as the first pick in the 8th round in 12-round leagues. As of today, he is the first pick in the 4th round. So he's going 40th overall. He's climbing. And to give you context, guys, he is 12, 13, 14, 15. He's the 16th running back off the board. So he's approximately 10 picks behind where Matt Forte is going right now. Would you prefer the roll of the dice on Ezekiel Elliott or Matt Forte if you had to pick one right now?
Oh, Elliott, absolutely.
Yeah. I agree. I think you have to.
I don't know. It would depend where I was drafting, but I guess I'd say, upside is Elliott. Yeah, say that.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, we'll see how it shakes out. You know, Dallas is definitely a crowded backfield, but I think overall, and particularly long term, we all like the landing spot there for Ezekiel Elliott. I will not be on board with the first round draft pick of him, but we'll see how it plays out. Guys, we saw a lot of wide receivers go in the NFL draft, some of them to good situations here for fantasy purposes, others maybe not so much. The Cleveland Browns. Vinny, what did you like about some of the wide receivers you saw drafted here in the NFL draft that are rookies?
Well, I liked most of the situations where like they really needed these guys like in dire situations like the Bengals, the Vikings. So you're looking at like Laquan Treadwell landed on the Vikings, so he has an opportunity to perform right away.
Who's his QB?
I was gonna say, that being said, his quarterback is Teddy Bridgewater in a run-first offense, so like his ceiling is pretty limited. But I don't know if you're all about the rookie wide receivers. Oh my God, I can't say his goddamn name. Laquan Treadwell is probably going to be a sleeper for a lot of people in later rounds. In a similar situation, this is a bit of a homer thing for me. Tyler Boyd going to the Bengals. He's basically just like Sanu. They use him for a little bit of gadget plays, some sweeps. He passes occasionally, and could be the number 2 wide receiver there, especially if you hate Brandon LaFell, like a large majority of the fantasy football community. So you could be about him as a late-round pick. Some other dudes that come to mind are Sterling Shepard, who was drafted by the Giants. He also has an opportunity to be a number 2 with the uncertainty around Victor Cruz, and Josh Doxson to the Redskins. He is probably going to be a number 2 there with the uncertainty around Pierre Garçon mainly, and also Deshaun Jackson is still in contract disputes, I believe. So it's a little bit up in the air, but a lot of these guys could be in high opportunity situations at the very least. So keep your eye open for those guys and the big sleeper potential for a lot of them.
Fair enough.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was really nice. That was a really nice draft coverage there. That was nice.
Yeah, well done, man.
I like that. One guy though, I'd like to name one more guy that you didn't. Though.
Oh right, take it away, man.
Will Fuller. Yeah, sorry, Will Fuller in Houston. I like his potential possibly as he's a guy that runs a 4.2. He's a 4.28. I should not write him down. But he's a speedster, and DeAndre Hopkins stretches the field. You got Brock Osweiler going in there, and he's going to be getting comfortable with all these guys. I think he could have some underneath success and in a wide open field and in a division with bad defenses. I think Will Fuller could maybe not necessarily be drafted until the 13th, 14th round, but he could end up emerging in like week 4 or 5. I think is like an option for a wide receiver.
That's a pretty good call. And his NFL comparison is Ted Ginn. So you're talking stretching the field and more opportunities all over the place. As long as Osweiler can hit those passes, yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, hopefully he's Ted Ginn with hands.
Yes, that would be much preferred.
Guys, great coverage on the wide receivers here out of the draft. I honestly have nothing to add because I don't know anything about them. Quite frankly, I try to stay away from rookie wide receivers anyway. But yeah, if you get them late, take a flyer, whatever. That's what all those late-round picks are for. But in all honesty, I don't know anything about him. So let's move on. Let's talk about Kenneth Dixon landing with the Ravens running back. Rogers, what do you think about him in this landing spot here? Do you think he's could end up with the job there?
I mean, on a complete polar opposite of Ezekiel Elliott with a crowded backfield, he's got a great situation to potentially come out as a number one. Like, he'll get a shot in that backfield with, I know they still have Justin Forsett, who you assume is their guy, but, can you count on his outlier years still? And he's actually older than people think. So I like the situation a lot. Again, I don't really know much about him or, his running style, but as far as situation goes, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, Dixon, he could wind up like a week 1 starting job. You got, like you mentioned, Forsett coming off the injury. The other guys that are there are Buck Allen, Lorenzo Taliaferro, and Terrence West. Not exactly great company, so he could absolutely pull away with this job if he has a good preseason and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to it. His NFL comparison was Thomas Rawls, and we all saw how good he was. It's just like sort of power running and finishing a lot of runs. So if the Ravens kind of restructured their offense a little bit, so if they can get the ground game going, Kenneth Dixon could be in for a pretty big sleeper role for upcoming fantasy drafts.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope he does because I remember the days of playing Terrence West, and those are shitty days.
Yeah,
so, when you're competing against that and people have Terrence West in their freaking fantasy lineups, Kenneth, I hope you're listening to the podcast. If you're not, I'll gladly send you a copy. But we're going to hype you up here, and we hope you can beat out Terrence West because, quite frankly, Don is going to beat out Terrence West for that job this year. And we'll fill you in on Don's scoop a little later on, guys. That's what we call in the podcast business a teaser. Guys, Wendell fucking Smallwood lands with the Eagles. Last kind of guy here we're going to talk about with rookie moves. Vinny, do you think he can be the guy for the Eagles?
Oh, no, I can't even speak on this. I'm going to completely defer this to Matt. He's so excited about this guy, so I'll just let Matt take this one.
All right, well, Wendell Smallwood is not going to be an exciting name to fantasy. An exciting name generally. Absolutely. I'm going to have fun with this guy all year. He's got one of the coolest names, probably the coolest name of any rookie. But in all seriousness, he's currently listed, obviously it's early, but he's currently listed as the number 2 in between Ryan Matthews and Darren Sproles in that Philly backfield. And he's a pretty good complement to them. He's 5'10", 208. He's a bit of a ground and pound guy. And he ran for 1,500 yards last year for West Virginia. I think he has some sleeper value. He fell in the draft, actually, because he was recently arrested on intimidating a murder witness, which is a really badass thing to do for a guy named Smallwood. I just want to say that right off the bat. But, we know Ryan Matthews is pretty much made of paper mache. So, with the way the Eagles are and Chip Kelly not screwing over good running backs, this guy could eventually get a chance. And, he's just interesting. He's raw, but I'm pretty excited about him. Definitely not draftable. Was that a good way to end that hype?
You heard it here first, man. Wendell Smallwood.
Fucking awesome to follow. Definitely not draftable. All right, guys. Real quick, we'll run through a few moves we didn't like. First one I want to hit, guys, is close to my heart. And I think it's close to all you guys because we know a lot of really annoying Jets fans.
Yes, we do.
The Jets are they're really easy to mock, and I think Mike Mayock did an awesome job of this on during the NFL draft when they drafted Christian Hackenberg. He put up a few notes on the screen, and it was kind of like, inconsistent play, you never know what you're getting, and completely unreliable. And I didn't think it could get any more Jets than that. They spent like a second-round pick on the guy, and the analysis is pretty much just like, yeah, well, you just completely rolled the dice on a guy that you have no idea where you're going to fucking get week in and week out. So, the Jets decided not to pay Fitz. So far, they draft Hackenberg, who, as far as we know, is the second coming of Geno Smith. And you have Geno Smith. So what could possibly go wrong? That's all I got on the Jets. I don't know if you guys want to add anything. They are fun to poke things at.
So you got a similar scouting report to ours of Don, pretty much like the podcast version of Don. It's unreliable, possibly.
Inconsistencies.
Inconsistent. Yeah, I don't know if that was their move. Like, if they were trying to be like, Ryan Fitzpatrick, like, do something. Like, that was not the one. Like, he probably sat there and kind of giggled to himself on his couch. Just like, oh, yeah, whatever. Like even if this guy has potential, it's pretty much a consensus opinion that he shouldn't see the field this year. He's not close to NFL ready. So, I mean, all you do is give yourself a project where you got to cut one of the guys of Bryce Petty or Geno that could definitely be your starter this year if Fitzpatrick signs. So, I don't know.
Yeah. No fantasy impact. I just think it's fun. That's why we're the best in the business, guys. Let's talk about the Titans. They go out and they draft Derrick Henry. Obviously, they added DeMarco earlier on in the offseason. So they have DeMarco, Henry, Antonio Andrews, David Cobb, and Let's Talk Fantasy Football's favorite, Bishop Sankey. We loved having him in our lineups in the past. So it's just a crowded backfield. I mean, I don't think he's taking the job from DeMarco, but again, is there too many mouths to feed in Tennessee? Does this worry you guys at all about any value of DeMarco Murray down there?
I'm pretty worried. I was all about DeMarco Murray. I was ready for him to return to glory because we love him, but now I'm not so sure. I mean, I'm literally just looking at the two names, DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry, because I don't care about Antonio Andrews. I don't care about David Cobb. I definitely don't care about Bishop Sankey. I'm just focusing on those two dudes, and I think if you get the right value for DeMarco Murray, and the same can be said for Henry, I think you're in a pretty good situation. I'd probably say like 4th, 5th round for Murray. I think that's kind of where he's going now, and I can't see that really changing. Maybe he sneaks into the 3rd potentially. They have an interesting preseason, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, I'll just say that if I have my way, I will not own any Titan in any fantasy league this year except for Delaney Walker. I'm just going to stay away from the whole situation. I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen.
That's also a good call.
I just don't want to be involved.
All right, guys. Well, mark this down on your calendars because when we come back in early September for our post-League Awesome Fantasy Draft podcast, there's a chance Matt may own a ton of Titans. So let's just mark down today that he may panic under pressure and own a ton of Titans come draft day.
DGB in the 5th round.
I definitely will.
It's all coming together. All right, guys. The name I promised that I would butcher is here. The Seahawks draft C.J. Precise. Yes, I knew that. And the Denver Broncos draft Devontae Booker. They both kind of fuck up promising backfield situations. We're also hearing reports, which are unrelated at this point, that Marshawn Lynch is talking about playing this year.
So are you serious?
Yeah, I saw a tweet today about it.
I did not see that.
Maybe I'm lying. Let me look and confirm that. But do you guys see any fantasy value here?
Dick.
Yeah, fuck that. That's fucking awful. Oh, whatever.
Yeah, that's all I'll say. There'd be fantasy value, sure, if he went somewhere, but dick move, bro.
All right, yeah. Marshawn Lynch is already considering coming out of retirement officially. It's on SportsIllustrated.com. Doesn't get any more legit than that.
Oh boy.
So, yeah.
Fuck that situation even more.
Yeah, you can add Thomas Rawls there. You got Marshawn Lynch. I mean, they're not going to take on Marshawn Lynch's contract, so that could, whether he agrees to less money or goes someplace else, it could fuck another situation. So, Seattle's at this point again roll the dice. It's too early in the season. Denver, Devontae Booker. You got C.J. Anderson. Some of the other guys out there. I think they're all wait and see approaches right now, right?
I think so. How do you guys feel about C.J. Anderson? Matt, I know you feel a certain way. I'm not actually sure. I can't tell if you hate him or you're willing to let him back in.
I don't know. I mean,
Definitely
you look at the fact that they're kind of. Oh, sorry.
No, you're
Go
good.
ahead,
You're good.
Shrek.
No, I was just saying. It sounded like you were,
All right,
you
well,
were being
I'm just gonna
completely quiet.
Yeah, I had to gather my thoughts, but they're kind of quietly in a similar quarterback situation to the Jets in the sense that Mark Sanchez is number one on the depth chart right now, kind of, right?
Yep.
So you kind of are attracted to that running game a little bit when there's a weak quarterback, but then I'm almost glad that they drafted these two guys because you almost want to love C.J. Anderson just a little bit again, and you get to nip that in the bud right away because it was tempting, but I will not be tempted.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you've had your heart broken. You know what the pain feels like.
Yeah.
I understand.
What do you think, Shrek? You like C.J. Anderson at all?
Not right now. I saw him break your heart, and just because we're good friends, I saw him do that to you. I can't take him back. I just out of my loyalty to you. So right now, I'm gonna have to say no. C.J. Anderson, you stay back.
I appreciate that.
You don't date your friends' exes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's a rule.
It's really noble.
We do all we can here for our staff. Vinny, talk about Hunter Henry here from the Chargers. I know you feel very strongly about him right now.
Yeah, fucking hate this guy. There's crazy hype on him already, and he's going to be a rookie tight end on the Chargers. I know Antonio Gates is old as fuck, but he's by no means going to be replaced by Hunter Henry. And it's just kind of reminding me of the Josh Hill fiasco last year, where people were just hyping the shit out of him, and he was a top 10 drafted tight end in most mocks leading up to the season. I don't know, it just drives me nuts. And rookie tight ends are generally ass. So there's really no reason to go out of your way or to wait on this guy when you've got such tight end is incredibly deep, especially with the recent moves. I know Matt mentioned before Dwayne Allen and Kobe Fleener, getting their own starting gigs in other places. So there's plenty of depth at the position, and there's no reason to reach or completely wait for Hunter Henry. I don't think it's going to work out. And it's fucking May, and this guy is being drafted. It's awful. I'm not happy.
I have a feeling he'll be on the roulette wheel later on in the season, and if you want to fucking spin it and you want to select Hunter Henry's name, that's your fucking business.
Yeah, that's your problem.
Yeah, exactly. He can become your problem for sure. All right, guys, let's do a live read here coming from nohalftime.com. Guys, you're staring at your weekly fantasy opponent and thinking to yourself, I would love to challenge just one of his players. Not his entire team, but your fantasy sports service doesn't allow you to. Now you can on the all-new No Halftime app. The No Halftime app allows you to create individual challenges using players or teams. For example, you can pit Beckham versus Brown, Cam versus Rodgers, or even Ezekiel Elliott versus AP. Creating a challenge takes seconds, and accepting challenges is even easier. No Halftime challenges can be private or public and created for the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, PGA, and other sports. Join today and get started. Real money and fantasy supremacy await you. And now you can also try No Halftime for free with $0 challenges. Visit nohalftime.com for more information and to download the No Halftime app for iPhone or Android. You can also receive a bonus by entering in the promo code LTFF, that's courtesy of us, at sign up, and you'll also receive a free t-shirt when you make a deposit. No Halftime, where the fantasy sports season never takes a break. All right, guys, that comes from our great sponsor over at nohalftime.com. Use our promo code LTFF when you guys sign up. You're going to get a free bonus just to be able to play. You don't even have to put any money in. So it gives you a chance. I've played a couple of free challenges on there, guys, and I've thrown some money in. It's a lot of fun. I played some NBA stuff, and I'll be honest, I don't know dick about playing NBA. But it's been fun. The app is super, super easy to use. And you'll see us on there, guys. If you want to challenge us, we'll get our usernames together and throw them out there for you guys. I promise I won't accept your challenges for a lot of money because you may be a shark for all I know. But I'll play you in a free challenge or throw a buck down when we hit NFL time. Don't challenge me in NBA or MLB. I'm not good. All right, guys, let's talk about the offseason moves. Good things, bad things, kind of where our heads are at. And let's start with Deflategate. It's back again. Tom Brady suspended again. And this kind of brings in Ed's question of the week. So with Brady suspended, guys, Ed's question of the week kicks off here. He says, does Brady's suspension drop Gronk out of the first round? And I think for me, it absolutely does. Half point PPR, maybe you consider it. He's a stud, but no Brady for 4 games. I don't have stats. I tried to pull some up courtesy of RotoViz, but I couldn't get their app to pull them up the way I wanted to quite yet. With him, with Brady, and without. But right now, it's early. We'll see if it gets overturned. But right now, Gronk is out of my first round.
Yeah, I'm not crazy on early tight end, even though it's Gronk, but I think it drops him out of the first for me as well. I can't see him sliding further than early second round, though. I think people are just still focused on how awesome Gronk is and the name.
Yep.
So he's probably still going to go early. I don't think it's going to affect a lot of drafts the way you think it would, but if he slides, he's going to be a good value for someone at some point.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to be a real wild card in drafts this year. He could go anywhere from end of the first to the 5th. But, maybe not.
Whoa.
That's a little low.
maybe late
that's
late second, early third.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm just thinking where I would personally take Gronk. But
I think we're all pretty low on Gronk.
But
unless if Walsh was here, he'd probably be yelling at us.
Yeah, that's true.
He's yelling at the podcast right now. The fans just can't hear him, but he is definitely screaming about Gronkowski and our disdain for tight ends. Guys, I don't know the exact date that they announced Brady's suspension again, but we'll go back to February 23rd. Gronk was being drafted as the 9th pick in the first round. Today he's being drafted as the 10th. Again, it's early for mock drafts, but he hasn't really moved. So like you said, maybe he drops out of the first and he's a value for someone on that second round swing, but it seems people that love him, they love him, and people that don't, there's a little more flexibility. Again, we've never really been big tight end early guys, so understandable. But Ed, if you want him, Ed, go get him. Again, we don't encourage the tight end early thing, but I wouldn't gamble and hope he's there on the second round swing if you really wanted him. Again, we're talking draft strategy on May 26th, so this will be useless by the time it's draft day. But that's my advice, at least right now off the bat. Guys, Marvin Jones goes to the Lions. He leaves the beloved city of Cincinnati. Vinny, what do you think about Marvin Jones and him going there to Detroit?
I like Marvin Jones. I like the situation. There's going to be a lot of targets that are left on the table that Calvin's gone. I'm thinking he'll stay retired. He won't come back like Marshawn Lynch. So Marvin Jones is his line to be a strong number 2 behind Golden Tate. I think there's a lot of stuff to go around there. And, Matt Stafford is one of the better quarterbacks. So I think he'll be able to spread the ball around. And Marvin Jones has got some sneaky value late. I think a lot of people might reach on him. I'm interested to see where he's going. I actually haven't been able to look through to see where Marvin Jones is going, but it could be a pretty decent pick for someone. I'd probably put him at a strong wide receiver 3, fringing on a wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you're saying, Vinny. I'd probably be a little bit lower on him, but the opportunity will be there. And how many times have you seen Matt Stafford throw 40-plus times a game? A good amount. So
exactly.
They'll definitely be big games for him.
Hey, Stafford looked good under Jim Bob Cooter. And we don't just say Jim Bob Cooter because we like the name. We think Jim Bob Cooter is doing a great job down there with Matt Stafford. So Jim Bob Cooter may have some balls going towards Marvin Jones. But, yeah, Vinny, just to give you some insight here on his draft, his status here, on March 4th, he was going as the 11th pick in the 13th round. As of today, he's the 9th pick in the 9th round. So he's moving up. Obviously, that'll change as we move towards draft day. So the trend is definitely up for him, and I would expect that to climb.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Guys, Kirk Cousins stays in Washington. He's tagged. I think that's just a win for the entire Redskins offense and for fantasy owners. He played well there, and that's just a great thing. Do you guys have anything to add on that, or some more just a note?
I like Cousins as a late guy. If you're gonna wait on QB, I think similar to last year, I could probably compare him to Eli Manning. If you're waiting, so about the same, probably round 10 or 12, hop on the Cousins train.
That's a good call. I hadn't really fully considered it, but I could totally see that being like if you take those late two quarterbacks, like 12th and 15th or whatever, just to complement, like play that matchup game. He'd be a good candidate for that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, hey, we love playing the late QB game here. We love to fucking wait and wait and wait. So Kirk Cousins could be a very interesting candidate, to say the least. Guys, Doug Martin stays in Tampa Bay. We watched him he would go out there and fucking rip it up and have like a 50-point week. He played really well down there. I think, for his fantasy prospects, I think it stays good. Let's see, where's Doug Martin going right now?
You guys just laughed in my face last year. Just laughed in my face.
Hey man, well, you were wrong.
Yeah, but you also said it the year before.
Yeah.
No way. Oh wait, yes I did. I drafted him and got fucked.
Yeah,
never mind.
You were way higher on him the year before.
I retract that statement.
No, he responded well to Josh Freeman taking it. Whoa.
Oh
Jameis
man.
Winston.
Whoa.
Jameis
Winston.
That was like a PTSD flashback. Josh Freeman on the fucking years. No, but with Jameis Winston in there, that team looked a lot better overall. And Doug Martin.
Guys, Doug Martin's, he's currently the first pick in the third round, 26th guy overall. He's running back 11 off the board, immediately behind Eddie Lacy and Mark Ingram.
I would take all three of those guys as my RB1 any day, especially with third round value. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of options at wide receiver this year. It seems a little deeper than running back. So it's been a nice slide, at least. Again, it's early. Guys, Brock Osweiler, he says goodbye to John Elway and the Denver Broncos. I couldn't be happier because they're now rolling with Mark Sanchez there in the AFC West. And he goes over and joins the Texans. So the Texans are making moves. They grab him. They grab Lamar Miller. They got DeAndre Hopkins. So it kind of seems like they've got the pieces in place, assuming Osweiler can make some magic happen down there in Houston. I like the move for fantasy value kind of all over the board there. No? I mean...
Yeah, I'm loving a lot what the Texans are doing. We'll talk about it later, but Lamar Miller's also there, DeAndre Hopkins, Matt saying before with Will Fuller coming in to help the offense. So I'm excited for the Texans. And as long as Brock Osweiler is like formidable at QB like he was, like the way he was for the Broncos, it's going to be great for the Texans. So I'm very excited for that.
And based off even just contract alone, but this should probably be the best quarterback DeAndre Hopkins has ever had, and that really excites me. Is he potentially a top 5 pick for you guys this year? I think he is.
Hopkins?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like Hopkins. I've also seen him go like at a wide variety of spots, anywhere from like we're saying like 5 to 8, and then people like later in the first round.
Yeah, so. Hopkins is the 6th guy off the board right now.
I think that's fine.
I agree. He's a 4th receiver off the board behind Antonio Brown, Odell, and Julio. So he's going to get a bunch of targets. I think that's a Yeah, for sure.
Agreed.
For sure. So, good things happening there in Houston. Guys, let's go back to the Jets. I mean, Vinny, we touched on this before when we talked about Matt Forte, but he goes to the Jets. We don't like it. We don't like it for necessarily his fantasy value. It's a crowded backfield. I think we kind of hit a lot of the details here. Do you guys really have anything to add on Forte?
Nah, just stay away. We're warning you to stay away.
All right, cool. Yeah, I agree, especially at his price. The 12th running back off the board right now. Again, May 26th, but a little rich for our blood. Fitzpatrick, guys, I just thought it was notable. He still doesn't have a deal. He doesn't want to play for the Jets for what they're paying him. So they could be rolling with Geno. They could be rolling with Hackenberg. I apologize. I don't know. I just think it's notable. Do you guys think Fitz ends up back in New York, or do you think they end up in a stalemate and he just doesn't play?
I'm thinking stalemate. I think they're just going to roll Geno. They've expressed confidence in him for whatever reason, and they're just not budging on contract. So I think Fitz is just not going to be playing this year.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I'd probably lean that way as well, but it's a shame because that Eric Decker, Brandon Marshall combo with him just saved so many fantasy teams last year, and just I'm sure it carried a lot of teams to championships. So that makes you wary about that whole offense now if he doesn't go, and it's just for BS like financial reasons. That doesn't matter. Fantasy matters.
Stop being
I
selfish.
I don't care about. Yeah, you want to support your family, Ryan Fitzpatrick? Well, I haven't won a fantasy league in 4 years. All right, and I want to draft Eric Decker in the 5th. God damn it!
You bring up a good point, Matt. Like, where do you guys drop? Like, how far do Marshall and Decker drop with Geno at the helm? Like, how far are you willing to back those guys up? I'm assuming, like, Marshall's higher than Decker, but I just want to see where they're falling.
I think definitely out of the top 12 and 25, respectively. But I don't really know. There's so much confusion there.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Matt. I think it's, again, we'll see how it plays out, but right now it's a lot of uncertainty. Fitz was great for them. Marshall, like you said, carried a lot of teams. Marshall's slightly dropped since whatever it was, April. He's down 2 picks. Decker's down 3 picks. So there hasn't been a ton of movement on them. It's early, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not confident in giving an answer at all right now. Yeah, I don't have anything. That was useless.
Don't worry about it, Shrek. It's only May.
That's true. I have that to last on. All right. So we'll have to revisit the Jets situation with wide receivers and the fallout, depending on what happens with Fitz and their quarterback situation. Guys, we watched Chris Ivory go to the Jaguars. So he leaves the Jets, joins the Jags, and he's going to cause a problem for Don's boy there, TJ Tasty. Don's a big TJ Yeldon fan. Do you think Chris Ivory digs significantly into any value that TJ Yeldon could have? Because I think the Jaguars are doing a lot of good things. If they're going to be an up and coming team, they have bad luck with their first round picks. They tend to get hurt, but I think they're doing it the right way. They're adding the right pieces. Are you worried about Chris Ivory going to the Jags for the value of TJ Yeldon, essentially?
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think this could be a situation where like they'll both be drafted kind of in the same vicinity, and it'll be back and forth on who's first. Like I don't think there'll be a clear cut guy, and I could totally see games where one of them gets 15 carries and the other gets 5, and then it completely switches. Yeah. And especially with Ivory being older, that would make sense on how to handle them.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I was pretty excited for TJ Yeldon with the Jaguars starting to be good and everything. I thought they had like their 3-down back, and now all of a sudden they got Ivory. The only thing that concerns me a lot about these two guys is Ivory's injury proneness. So, we watched him be awesome for the Jets when he was healthy, but how long is he going to stay healthy on the Jaguars? It's going to be a little concerning. So I think the value pick is with Yeldon. So I think I would shy away from Ivory more so.
Yeah, I agree. And if you're looking at their draft spots right now, guys, Chris Ivory is, as of right now, being drafted as the 7th pick in the 7th round. TJ Yeldon as the 1st pick in the 8th round.
Yeah, Matt was right. Around the same area.
They're right there.
And it also gets rid of that really desperation Denard Robinson Week 13 start, which I always fall back on. Kind of enjoyed it a little bit.
Yeah, he does always save somebody.
There is some savior there, but TJ Yeldon, we watched, he plummets, guys. He was at his best. He was being drafted on March 19th at the 20th at the 4th pick in the 4th round, and he's plummeted down to the 1st pick in the 8th round. So. We've seen him drop significantly since Ivory's added, so a lot of uncertainty there. He is going right behind Carlos Williams of the Bills and right before our boy Frank Gore of the Colts.
Oh, see, I'd much rather Yeldon than any of those dudes.
Yeah, he's going after Duke Johnson.
Wow.
In Cleveland. So, yeah, there's some names.
I like Duke Johnson this year, though.
Yeah? All
Yeah,
right.
I meant to bring him up actually earlier in my guys I'm a little too high on. He's got the starting job and or G3 now, which we're going to get into in a minute. But I'm on the Duke Johnson train big time.
All right. I'm excited to hear. I'm excited to hear about the Duke himself. Guys, do you think Walsh gets back on that Lamar Miller roller coaster this year, or do you think it's a more steady ride for him?
I think Walsh is going to have some company on that roller coaster this year, man. I'm all about Lamar Miller. I love it. I get to be
Back on the roller coaster.
I get to be the
I feel like Walsh is
bandwagon scumbag.
I feel like Walsh has just been stuck on that roller coaster in the upside down loop-de-loop position, just like since Lamar Miller came into the league.
I'm excited though. He's finally, if all things pan out the way they should, which they probably won't, he's going to start getting his carries, at least 15 a game, and that's just fucking incredible. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, Lamar Miller, third pick in the second round. He's the 7th running back off the board right now. Do you like that?
Ooh, that's high, but justified.
No. No. No, I don't
It's
think
justified though. It's like
Sorry.
it's just like the David Johnson pick. You're putting a lot of stock and a lot of uncertainty with a great talent and a great opportunity. It makes sense.
I'd pay up for David Johnson.
I'd pay up for Lamar Miller more
I'm
so
not
than
paying
David
up for
Johnson.
But David Johnson's in the exact same scenario.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're both justified. I'd just rather I prefer Miller than taking a first-round pick on David Johnson.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't agree, but
No,
I get it.
No, it doesn't.
No, I'm joking.
All right, well, you and Walsh can you'll be starting a Lamar Miller fan club this year, and
I can see
you
Walsh.
bandwagon on.
I can see Walsh bailing on me now, and now it's just me. And then he'll just start talking up Frank Gore. We'll just totally switch.
He'll be on the next podcast. Be like, yo, fuck Lamar Miller, Frank Gore. He's my boy this year. This is the one I love.
I don't know what the fuck Vinny's talking about.
It's totally possible. All right, guys. So Ladarius Green goes over to the Steelers. He leaves San Diego, and I don't like to spend too much time on tight ends purely because we encourage tight end roulette. We don't want to pay up for tight ends. But do you think there's any value here in Ladarius Green in Pittsburgh?
Absolutely.
Do you care to
100%.
expand?
No.
Yeah, I'd put him in. I'd put him in like the 7 to 8 region. I think he falls into that like Delaney Walker group a little bit. He's got a lot of upside, and Big Ben likes the tight end.
Yep. One thing to look out for, he had ankle surgery recently. Just make sure he rehabs that. Hopefully it's not a lingering injury because he's got a lot of opportunity there. I think we mentioned before Martavis Bryant is out for the year, so a lot of targets to go to Ladarius Green. Things look good, so he's a nice sleeper value at tight end.
Cool. All right, guys. Alfred Morris, the Cowboys. I'm going to kind of breeze over this. We talked about this with Ezekiel Elliott. It's a busy backfield. We're going to kind of wait and see how it goes. But McFadden, Alfred Morris, Ezekiel Elliott, Lance Dunbar comes back from the leg injury. They have a lot of bodies there. So we're going to wait and see how it plays out. But I'm going to kind of breeze past him. And let's throw this over to Matt here. RG3 goes to the Browns. You talk about your love for Duke Johnson. Here's your chance to tell the world, Matt. You have the open mic. What are you seeing in Cleveland that you like?
Yeah. What it is that I just think that even if RG3, like, we're not really sure, what kind of football shape he's in. I'm sure he's in good shape, but like how he's going to play. But I think at the very least he makes this offense a little bit more intimidating. I think they will run the ball a lot to keep him healthy, and Duke Johnson is listed at the top of their depth chart. Isaiah Crowell will still always be there, but we saw some flashes of Duke Johnson in his rookie campaign, and I just think this is him. This gives him a chance to be the central piece in this offense. And I just think at the very least, RG3 stretches the field. You don't have Johnny Manziel or, Brandon Weed or whoever the hell is playing there. So I just think that the fact that they have a steady quarterback that can win will make that whole offense at least more confident. Does that make sense?
No. No, I'm just kidding, Matt. I just see him.
Get back.
I don't really see him as a three down back, or like having that much value this season. I more view him as like a Charles Sims kind of guy. Like he'll be sweet in like PPR flex play more so. Yeah, I don't really see him as like What do you like? What are you putting him at? Like an RB2? What are you putting him at?
Well, towards the end of the year, his touches were going up progressively. And I think he could be a guy that starts to average like 13, 14 touches a game. He's got big playability. He's one of the more athletic, I guess, exciting guys on that offense. I just think he can get a lot of work, and I think he's their most versatile weapon, personally.
All right, I'm just seeing more of like a pass catching role and not that frequently. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I just see him as like a third down back.
I'm not talking 20. I'm not talking top 20 running back, but
No, but you're talking about a guy later on that you like that can turn into some value. I see more of your side of it here, Matt,
right.
on Duke Johnson. It could be my bias of having to play him in the past, but I could see some value come out of Duke Johnson. I don't see him quite as a Charles Sims, but
Charles Sims.
I don't. But that's all right.
Just to piggyback off this, because I forgot to put it on the list, it's an under-the-radar move, but Travis Benjamin leaving this team for the Chargers was kind of disappointing, because I would really like to see those young weapons go with RG3, like a guy like Travis Benjamin coming off the best year of his career. But
seeing off that, I love him as a Charger. I think he's going to be great. Shrek, could you pull up where he's going?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got it. Give me one.
Actually, I'm very interested to see, because it's kind of unpredictable and like
he could be very good.
Yeah, like they could have like a high dynamic offense now if Keenan Allen comes back healthy and everything.
So he is currently going as I just caught another player's name that I want to bring up to you guys, but okay. Travis Benjamin is being drafted as the 4th pick in the 9th round, 105 overall.
See, that's where you start throwing out your flyers, and that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I totally agree. He gets to play with my favorite, Phillip Rivers. But yeah, I agree. It's a good situation for him. So yeah, let's rock and roll with some Travis Benjamin there, especially at 105 overall. He's actually coincidentally 1 pick below your boy Charles Sims.
Yeah, there you go.
So look at that. The other name that came up, guys, when I did the search, Kelvin Benjamin.
Ooh.
Of the Panthers.
Another
from the injury. Yeah, I completely forgot about him, and I see him on the list here now. He's currently going as the 7th pick in the 3rd round. 32 overall. Thoughts?
Too
early? Too early to tell?
Again, that's too rich for my blood, but
I think it might be too rich, but man, I don't know. I think it's like just.
I don't think I'm cool with him being my wide receiver too.
No, see, I'd be cool with him as a 2. I think I would be cool with him as a 2.
Is that risk though? I don't know.
Yeah, but like, is there any more risk involved with Jordy Nelson than there is with Kelvin Benjamin? Same injury, kind of.
I guess not.
Similar heel times, and you're getting Benjamin 2 rounds later.
True.
Yeah.
So I could see. I'd be cool with him as a 2, but any more than that, I'd be a little concerned.
Yeah, he's the 19th wide receiver off the board, so depending on how you draft, he could end up as your 3. Depending on how your draft falls. So, all right. Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting name. I completely forgot about him.
It was very interesting.
But, guys, a name we never forget about here, Let's Talk Fantasy Football. He is a fan favorite. He is an LTFF favorite. The man, Jared Cook, now wearing a Packers uniform. So I'm going to throw it over to our Packers expert here with Rogers. What do you see in Jared Cook?
Well, I hate Jared Cook. I always did, but I always have. He always manages to be on Vinny's team and score like 3 touchdowns against me when he catches 6 all year. But it's a good move for the Packers, and I think Walsh, right when it happened, Walsh actually put it perfectly. It's probably exactly how it's going to go. Richard Rodgers is going to have like more than 2 times the amount of catches than Jared Cook, but Jared Cook will probably catch like 7 or 8 touchdowns and just piss everybody off. But as far as the Packers go, I think it's a good move for them.
Yeah, he's probably one of the later tight ends that you could target if you want to take like a crazy flyer.
Spin the wheel. The wheel, my friends. All right, guys, that's all we got on the list. Is there anybody else you guys want to throw out there for the listeners? We can obviously hit them next week when we come back around.
Real quick, Martellus Bennett going to the Patriots. if, with the Tom Brady thing, his suspension probably holding up, where do you guys see Bennett going? What do you see his production being like this year as like the number 2 tight end on the team?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he should be drafted at all. But
Yeah.
he could definitely be a mid-season play for sure.
Yeah.
I could see him as a huge bye week starter for sure in a lot of leagues.
I agree. There's always the potential for the touchdown, the look, in that offense. But yeah, I can't draft him.
And then the potential for no catches, no looks.
Yeah, well, that's the risk, but that's good old tight end roulette for you.
Oh yeah.
All right. Anybody else, guys?
Nope.
All right. So,
Yeah.
guys, as we threw the teaser early on before, next week we will have the debut of the DON himself and the very first Timmy treat of the week we will reserve for the DON's appearance. Guys, next week coming at you, we will also have an interview with the co-founder of Project Franchise. Guys, if you haven't heard of Project Franchise, check them out online. It's going to be the first fan-run professional football team. They're in the IFL, and they are letting the fans pick team names, their coaches, their players. So it's kind of fantasy in real life, and you get to pick the plays when they actually play the game. So some really cool stuff. We'll have Grant on to talk about that. And, of course, you'll have your usual crew here from Let's Talk Fantasy Football to talk NFL news, fantasy news, and any questions you guys may have for us. But until next week, guys, again, a shout-out to our number 1 fan there, Tim Walsh. Gave you a little Raiders love, and I can't believe it. We will catch you on the flip side.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.